Well, Easter greetings in the wonderful name, Easter greetings in the wonderful name of the risen Lord Jesus. I'm sure most of you are hearing some good Easter messages at this time of the year. So I'm not going to be particularly speaking about Easter. Many of my blogs get watched quite later on. Again, I just want to take a moment to thank those of you take time to email me because it really is a help if I hear from people and know that somebody is actually following this. And of course, I just love to send those free books I keep mentioning. And I'll just show my email address again, which I do so often, george.verwer@om.org. If you don't hear from me, it means somehow I didn't get the email. Maybe it went into junk because I answer all of them. I do have a more personal email address. And when I reply to your email, then you get that particular address. Lately, I've been especially thinking about my mom and dad as my sisters died, and now our family was small and no brothers or other sisters. And so, of course, I've been thinking a lot about our family, looking at some photos, especially amazing photos of my sister. And I realized I don't think I ever showed this photo of my mom and dad. My dad came across from the Netherlands when I guess he was 7 or 8 years of age. My mother's grandparents are from the Coventry area. So I've got quite a few different kinds of blood flowing through me. How I thank the Lord for their lives. They both, I think, were seekers. And then after my own conversion, they came to Jesus. That for today is our subject for today is people God uses. There's so many books on that subject, especially books on leadership. So I'm not going to be repeating, which probably you've already heard, but throwing in some things that I just think help bring a lot of these strong books, including my own books, the earlier books, Hunger for Reality, Revolution of Love, No Turning Back. That just helps keep that strong message, in which is such a great thrust toward excellency, holiness, just to keep it all in balance. The passages come to my mind. Chapter 1. To be sure, some preach Christ out of envy and strife, but others out of goodwill. They do it out of love, knowing that I am appointed. Remember, Paul was in prison. I was appointed for the defense of the gospel. The others proclaim the message. I got to turn the page on my Bible. Proclaim Christ out of rivalry, not sincerely, seeking to cause me anxiety in my imprisonment. And this amazing response. What does it matter? Just every way, whether out of false motives or true, Christ is proclaimed. And is this? Wow, that's all I need to read. Amazing, isn't it? This very much ties into what I'm attempting to share about the wide range of people that God uses. And I bring that out in my book, Messiology, I think very clearly, how people that I've not even agreed with, I probably would never be able to work with them. I probably would not be, that maybe they are the leader, but I would never say God is not using them. I hope you'll read Messiology. One lady just emailed me. She's read it through 3 times. People have testified, which is now in quite a few has been such a blessing to them. It actually covers quite a few subjects. I've had the privilege of meeting personally over 1,000 Christian leaders. Of course, I've been at this since I was 17 years of age, a long time ago. And then I've read about hundreds and hundreds of other leaders, read their books, biographies, summaries of biographies. God put such a great love in my heart for people. Someone recently who's been attacking me on the internet and with friends that I hated him. And I don't answer such things, but I can't remember hating anybody. It's just not the way I'm wired, nor was it the way my family was wired that I can remember even before we experienced new life in Jesus. We are called even to bless and pray for our enemies. So, with all my heart, I just want to say, God is using a wide range of people. And we need to be careful in what we say and what we preach, that there's not enough grace and not enough realization that, yeah, this guy is a bit over the top in his leadership. He's a bit authoritarian. He needs to grow in that area. But history shows that God uses those kinds of people. And these days, any kind of authoritarian leadership is being greatly condemned. There's whole books about it. I read a book that helped bring that into balance, showing the other side of how in many cultures today is extremely difficult to get loyalty. And because people are reading different books and they're having different input from all sides and now through social media, it's harder than ever for a leader sort of to keep his people loyal, to keep them basically happy in their situation. And so easily, just one mistake, one sin, one failure gets immediately talked about. I make it clear in my book, Confessions of a Toxic Perfectionist. Again, I'm not sure if people ever really grasp it. How we, in our culture, that mixture of politics and Christian culture, especially in Europe and other countries like America, has created an environment, sort of a shame-based environment in which very hard for leaders to confess their sin openly. And yet we find later on in life that maybe something has really been going wrong in this person's life. But if you embrace messiology theology, you realize God was still using him. A number of Christian leaders have, as we use that language, fallen again in the past year or so. Some of it's been big time on the press. But we must remember this passage in Philippians. We must remember that even though they may have had wrong motives, they may have been doing some wrong things, we're not justifying that. The gospel is being and has been proclaimed. And rather than focusing so much on the problems and the sins, and we should focus on God, how God works through all kinds of people. We especially believe he works through ordinary people. We have amazing passages like, even a cup of cold water will get a reward. It doesn't take a lot of training and expertise and commitment to give a cup of cold water, much less a cup of tea, or to help someone in a small way. Isn't it beautiful, all the help that's being given to the Ukrainians in this horrific situation? And I warn you about watching too much of it because it's so hurtful to even think about what's going on. But this has been the same situation through all of history. So if we're strong and mature in Christ, we've already fought that battle. We've already embraced the mystery of why God allows these things. And we have amazing passages about it in the Bible. And again, I think in previous blogs, I've urged people to embrace mystery, to embrace those last verses of Romans 11 that are just so important about realizing we as human beings cannot understand the purpose and plan of God. So many people upset. Why doesn't God just shut down the Soviet army, Russian army overnight? But all of history shows this is not God's agenda. He has turned this planet largely over to us. He answers prayer, but not always in the exact same way we're praying. And we have to cast every care upon him, knowing he cares for us. And if you wrestle with doubt, maybe you can remember what I once shared, that at times of deep doubt and difficulty, I sort of took a survey of all that I'd learned from both sides, for and against the Christian faith, so many books, and I was 52% in favor that the gospel was true, the resurrection, the crucifixion, it was all true, and 4% that it wasn't. And when I then sort of cast my vote, I'm going for the 52%. Suddenly my faith went up to 98%. And I had, again, that full assurance that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but by him. I wish I had time to tell you about some of the Latin Americans I've known. As my mission career started in Mexico, God gave me such a love for Mexico. I've just been restudying lately, again, a little bit of the Mexican history. And for me, one of the saddest things in American history is the Mexican-American War that many people have forgotten about, and the atrocities that took place. I wish I had more time to talk about my African friends, the wide range of different people, different temperaments and personalities, and also quite a range of belief in regard to doctrine. It's hard to know where people cross the line and become really heretical in their teaching. But we know that does happen, and we have to warn people about it. I've done this little book against the health and wealth gospel, and believe these people that are extreme about that. And we believe God heals, but I believe these people have crossed the line, and yet I'd be slow to call them heretics. And I go back to this Philippians passage that the gospel has been proclaimed in a powerful way through many people who were in that movement, people who go to those churches. We can easily see the harm. We don't like to realize that the positive and the negative are often together. And God's working. It doesn't mean anything that is not of Christ and of God is pleasing to him. And so his agenda is different from ours. His way of operating and thinking is often different from ours. We therefore need to be more joyful at the great harvest of people to Jesus, even sometimes under leaders who seem to be falsely motivated, who seem to be sometimes lacking in love, who sometimes make stupid mistakes, who sometimes fall into some kind of sin. And it's beautiful people that are pushed out of the church because of a particular sin that is taboo in their church. I've studied the life of many such people. I've seen them restored. I've seen them thrust into new ministries. The same is true of people who have gone through divorce. And it's just, I believe, sad that we're often so narrow in our thinking of the kind of people God uses, whether they're humble servants in the church or whether they're in main leadership. I felt very sad when I've seen again and again these negative comments about the super large churches, mega churches, and the pastors of mega churches, as if none of them could possibly be really Christ-like people. And I just believe this kind of judgmental mentality is extremely sad. And my prayer is for a revolution of love, that we'll understand how God uses such a wide range of people. His grace is sufficient. His strength is made perfect in weakness. So easy to see our weaknesses of others. And we need to focus on God's amazing grace to work through all kinds of people, all kinds of messy and difficult situations, never losing our goals and aims in terms of excellency and holiness. God bless you as you continue to run this road, especially in these difficult days with this heartbreaking war and so many other areas of suffering around the world. I look forward to hearing from you soon.